everyone, it's Matt Schlapp. Welcome to America Uncanceled. We've been talking about these extraordinary events in Brazil, which somewhat mirror this strange experience we're having in America, where the Constitution has been shredded as Democrats go after their political opponents, trying to put Donald Trump in prison, trying to put his supporters through lawfare, through extraordinary means, just because of their political views. And, you know, unfortunately in Brazil, it doesn't just stop with people who support Jair Bolsonaro, but it's also affecting journalism and who determines what's fake news and what's not fake news. So we're really honored to have Congressman Gustavo with us today. Thank you so much for having the courage to come here and tell your story and, you know, give the American people a little glimpse into what is it like for you, for instance. Here you're an elected official, should be able to say anything you want. You should be able to pursue your job, but they're trying to threaten you.
Yes. Well, first, thank you for having us and giving us a platform to talk what's happening in Brazil. We really appreciate it. One of the greatest reasons why people vote for us or choose us to be their representatives is so we can talk in their behalf. That's where the word parliament comes from the Latin parlare, which is to speak, to talk, to represent other people by your words. And that's the exact thing that's they are using it against us. So in Brazil today, our Supreme Court justices, basically 2 or 3 in the Supreme Court, they are freeing drug dealers, rapists, murderers, and they're putting in prison people for their opinions. Exactly what Venezuela does and all the other dictatorships. But we will continue doing what we set out to do, which is to represent our people, even though that might take us, put us at risk.
So let's talk about the judges, because we're seeing this in America, not so much from the Supreme Court, but we're seeing other judges, state judges and federal judges, appointed by Democrats, who are taking Trump to court every which way they can, and all his supporters. In Brazil, that's happening at the Supreme Court with these top judges, and there's really nothing the system allows to stop it. They're almost like little dictators.
Brazil has come up with a new kind of dictatorship. And the interesting thing is, and it's interesting for all the American people to hear this, is that what the left is doing here, other dictatorships in Latin America, they are copying it and actually improving it. So we noticed that what they're doing to Trump is exactly what the judiciary system in Brazil is doing to Jair Bolsonaro and all his supporters, but in a higher level. They toned up a little bit. So they are trying to put Trump as ineligible, impossible to run for elections. But they couldn't, right? The Supreme Court here, it's not completely kidnapped ideologically, and they are mostly are members of they have reasonable sense. In Brazil, it's the opposite. Since the left has been in power for the last 20 years, they appointed 80% of our Supreme Court. So they did it. What the left tried to do here and couldn't, in Brazil they did it. They put Bolsonaro ineligible.
So, you know, we've had several Cpacs in Brazil in a couple of your big cities, and they're big cities. You have cities that are bigger than our cities.
Yes, we have.
They're better than our cities too. They're actually more functional. But and we were just talking about how, you know, when you walk the streets of a big city like Sao Paulo, people come up, they're so friendly. You know, the cities seem to have like a respect and a tranquility. Behind that is the leftists use their power in a very aggressive and fascistic ways. But the Bolsonaro win was akin to Trump too, because it like fell out of the blue.
Yes.
No one thought that a guy speaking these popular views could actually beat the system, and he did.
Exactly.
And that's why they hate him.
Exactly, because he got them off guard. The system was so well organized, they thought they would always put their candidate in power. But then with the internet and truth, democracy of opinion, at the moment that everyone could give their opinions and talk about what they believe and defend their principles on internet, small people or simple citizens started having a big platform. Me, for example, I have only on Instagram 1.5 million people that follow me, and Nicolas Ferreira is a 26-year-old congressman. He has 10 million people that follow him on Instagram every day. So people started listening to us, and that shifted the power a little bit. The structure of power collapsed, And we were able to put a president that was really democratically elected. When I say that, I mean it was not chosen by the system for us to vote. The people chose one person and put him in power. Well, now the system reorganized itself so that never happens again. And what are they doing? So now if you say something that they don't like, you go to prison. You have your platform canceled. You are investigated. You have search and seizures. We have had dozens of congressmen with immunity. The police raided their houses, taking their laptops, their cell phones. We have a congressman who was convicted to prison for 9 years for his words. Words are putting people in prison for 9 years. So what the system did is now they reorganize itself, and now they will not let ever again for the people of Brazil to put someone in power again.
And we worry about that here too, which is
exactly.
They're trying to do everything they can to make it seem like Trump is illegitimate. Strangely enough, in this country, Trump seems to be getting stronger.
Exactly.
How is Bolsonaro's approval with the people over time and his allies? Is their plan working to try to smear him, or is he getting stronger?
I think that's why they are so angry, because they did everything they possibly could. They have all the mainstream media saying all the worst possible things about Bolsonaro. Bolsonaro is ineligible. He has no political rights. He's a normal citizen now, right? And he's not a businessman. He's not a millionaire. He's just a simple guy. So last month, he invited people to go to the streets in São Paulo, Avenida Paulista, which is the symbol of our protests. And we put 1 million people on the streets in São Paulo. And that was a 2 weeks notice. He invited people 2 weeks before. 1 million people went to the streets. And now they are like, what else can we do? The system is trying to do everything they can, but the more they beat him, the stronger he gets. And his supporters, me and very other congressmen that are here in this delegation in the United States, we keep getting bigger and bigger. I mean, everywhere we go, people compliment us, people praise us, people say they're praying for us, people ask us not to give up. On the other side, the elected president cannot walk on the streets of his own country.
Yeah.
Lula cannot walk on the street. Everywhere he goes, there's rejection.
Joe Biden has to put people in circles. You know, he has a big event, it's like 300 people.
It's like Maduro waving to no one, right? Pretending there are people over there.
Yeah, they go to the top of the stairs on the airplane and they turn around and wave, but there's no one there. Except our president.
When he's able to go to the top of the stairs,
our president
right?
can't walk to the top of the stairs.
I was saying.
You said prayers. Faith is a big, important part of this in your country. Here in America, too, probably not covered by the New York Times and other people. Is there a spiritual component to this? Like, how do they take what's true and right and beautiful and make it so ugly? And then take what's so ugly and try to tell people that it's true and going to be good for them?
Well, they were able to kidnap all the main strategic parts of our society. They are trying actually...
Over the course of 20 years.
40 years.
Yeah.
Over the course of 40 years. Like, for example...
The media, the
universities. The educational system.
Yeah.
I've been a teacher for 24 years. I have a school in Brazil. And today I tell parents that if we don't change what's happening inside our classrooms, we might have to take our kids out of the school and teach them whatever we can at home, because homeschooling in Brazil is prohibited. They say that it's fascism. Homeschooling is fascist. Everything they don't like is fascist. Everyone they don't like is Hitler, right? But it's their president who just complimented Hamas recently and said that Israel is committing genocide and Israel is doing exactly what Hitler did, which embarrassed us. So they took the educational system, they took the unions, all the unions, it's amazing. And they took the universities as well, the mainstream media, 100% indoctrinated and kidnapped, ideologically kidnapped, and all the strategic parts of our society. The only part that they are not able to kidnap yet are the churches. They're trying to.
They're still pretty independent.
Yes, they're still pretty independent. And thank God for the churches. That's where we have our bubbles of reasoning, of clear-minded people that understand what are happening.
But that's the last line of defense.
That's the last line of defense.
So Joe Biden and President Lula are using the same tactics and similar tactics. They're trying to keep their main opposition leader from being able to run again against them and for president. They're trying to intimidate everybody else through lawfare.
Arrest. People are being arrested.
And I think that people in America don't understand that Joe Biden has borrowed the tactics, right, of these communists, and it's bringing it here to America, normalizing it, to kind of bring this conversation to a close, when you are a victim of a human rights abuse campaign like is going on in Brazil, wouldn't you expect the government of America to embrace you and want to meet with you? Did anybody in the Biden administration reach out or want to talk with you or hear what's going on?
Matt, that's interesting you brought up this topic, because Biden administration actually worked to help put Lula in power. He directly interfered in our elections, and there are articles here on media, American media, saying that they interfered directly to get Lula into power. So that's something we cannot understand, because Lula hates America. He hates it. He has been going further and further to China, closer to China, to Russia, to Hamas. I mean, it's most embarrassing event in the history of our country, of Brazil, is having a president praising Hamas against the Jews in Israel. He has allied himself with the worst dictators in the world, like Maduro, like Daniel Ortega in Nicaragua, and all the dictators you can possibly imagine. Lula is actually financing these people. So why is it that Biden went out of his way to put in power in the second biggest country in America a guy who hates America? It's something we cannot understand.
Well, I want you to understand something. Joe Biden, his administration is trying to destroy America.
I think that's what's happening.
They don't love the part of America that you all understand, that we understand makes it beautiful. They don't like that part of it. They're trying to change it. And I think yesterday we had 7 or 8 other federal members of Congress with us at Cpac.
Yes.
It takes a lot of courage for you and Congressman Van Hatten to sit down with us and talk about this. We appreciate you doing it. It serves a purpose, because people need to know in America that this fight for freedom isn't just an American fight. It's a fight with our brothers and sisters in Brazil who are making the fight, and we just thank you for doing that. We appreciate your courage.
You said something about we're fighting globalism, right? But how can we fight globalism if we don't have an alliance of the clear-minded people of the world, the people who love freedom, the people who love individual liberties? You cannot fight a global system if you don't have also some kind of global alliance. The right, the conservatives.
Well, do you think Cpac is a part of that?
I think Cpac could be, it has to be, honestly, because we are on the verge of irreversible, all right? I think Cpac has to look at the world now. I mean, your guys are going to win in the United States. I can see that. Thank God. Thank God. We can see that Trump is way ahead and he's going to return to office, and that's going to be so good for the rest of the world, because ever since Biden took office, it's like all the dictators of the world said, okay, now it's the time to do something, because the United States is weak now. We can invade Ukraine. We can do whatever we want. So if Cpac could, start spreading this movement all over the world, I think we could have a fighting chance against the globalism and those who hate our principle and values.
Challenge accepted, Congressman.
Thank you so much,
for your
Matt.
courage.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to these important conversations. We have more coming to you, and we'll talk soon.
Não se esqueça de deixar sua opinião aqui nos comentários, de curtir e de inscrever no canal. E siga-nos nas redes sociais que está na descrição desse vídeo. E muito obrigado a todos e tenham uma boa noite.